Welcome to The Bee's Knees, a podcast wild about native bees. Wild and native bees are under threat worldwide. In each episode, we look at actionable things we can do to support these adorable little guys whose pollination work is crucial for maintaining biodiversity. I'm JC Meyer, and I thank you for being here. One of the best things about having a little podcast about bees is the opportunity to virtually visit special places all over the world and meet their native bees. Today we are heading to Mexico to meet the Melipona, a stingless honeybee. The genus Melipona consists of about 70 different species, native primarily to South America. The largest producer of honey from Melipona bees in Mexico is in the state of Yucatan, which is also home to the Mayan Melipona Bee Sanctuary. Our guest today is the sanctuary's founding director, Rebecca Robertson. Could you please introduce us to the Melipona bee?
Sure. The Melipona bee, known in the Mayan language as Shunan Cob, is the primary pollinator of the rainforest of the Yucatan of Mexico. She is a tropical stingless bee. This bee has been in relationship with the Maya people, documented for over 3,000 years.
So what is your connection with the Melipona bee?
I was invited to go on a Sister Cities delegation trip in 2020. The town where I live, Asheville, North Carolina, is a sister city with Valladolid, Mexico, which is very close to Mayan site of Chichen Itza. And I am a beekeeper. I have Apis mellifera bees, so I'm very familiar with bees. And my teacher, Lane Redman, had written a book years ago about the sacred path of the bee and the connection of drumming, goddess temples, and bees. So I have both of these. I'm holding both of these teachings in my head. So when I went to Mexico, I already knew about the Mayan bees and knew about their relationship with the Maya people and the connection with the sacred Mayan text, the Madrid Codex. And I started asking around for somebody to introduce me to these bees, to see the bees. And I kept asking, where are the bees? Where are the bees? Where are the bees? And I struggled for 2 weeks, really, for somebody to show me the bees. They would show me a little tourist thing. And as a beekeeper, I recognized that they weren't showing me something authentic. So it really became very clear that in this land of Mayan bees, the Mayan bees have disappeared. And finally, one of the women, a Maya elder, said, come to my home. I have bees. I'll show you the bees. And we walked into her home, back into the courtyard, and she had about 50 hives in her courtyard.
COVID hit, and you weren't able to return to act on this inspiration for the Mayan Melipona Bee Sanctuary for a couple of years.
It's a bit of a long, magical story, how it all happened. But what then did happen was an opportunity came up to purchase about 50 hives from old beekeeper who was having health issues and decided it was time for him to give up the bees. We met another Mayan man who lived right in town, who offered his land as a place to house the sanctuary. So we purchased this large number of beehives. Cesar Mai built the most gorgeous, beautiful structure to house the Melipona bees. It's called a meliponario. So he built this beautiful Meliponario that will hold about 100 hives, and that has become our bee sanctuary. Cesar is a Melipona beekeeper, and so he is the guardian of the bees. He takes care of the Meliponario, and as we bring new beekeepers in, he is the educator and teaches them how to take care of the bees. And every Meliponario that we build, which are now out in the villages, because we are consciously creating a pollinator corridor and giving the bees a place to survive and to thrive. So many boxes actually are being checked. Our project, we are absolutely an environmental project. We're working to help increase populations of this very crucial pollinator of the rainforest that is very much endangered. We can all address that in a bit. We're also a cultural project. This relationship of the Maya people, as I stated, with the bee is about 3,000 years old. But as those bees have disappeared, and they've disappeared, I would even say from the majority of the villages. As those bees disappeared, the cultural traditions around them have disappeared. The knowledge of how to take care of the bees, it's much more intensive beekeeping than, for instance, with Apis mellifera. So those traditions were disappearing as well. And another really important part of it is the honey that this little tropical stingless bee, Shinnon cob, Melipona Bee, makes. The honey is, if not the most, one of the most medicinally potent honeys on the planet. The honey is the number one ingredient in the Mayan healing remedies. And the reason that the honey is so important is it's got all the antibacterial, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory.
Let's talk about the state of the bee right now. How is it doing population-wise?
So we have a bit miraculously assembled the dream team of all hive teams. Dr. Stephen Buckman is a world-renowned entomologist. He is doing right now DNA studies on honey from our Meliponarios and pollen from our Meliponarios. He has wrangled in Dr. David Rubik, and Dr. David Rubik is an entomologist who works at the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute in Panama. And Dr. Rubik is the world's foremost expert on Melipona bees. Dr. Rubik joined the Smithsonian Tropical Lab to explore the effects of Africanized bees and the impact of Africanized bees. Well, one of the big impact of Africanized bees, and that's Apis mellifera, is that they have taken over the wild nesting sites of this Melipona bee. So you don't find the Melipona bee out in the forest any longer because the Africanized honeybee is bigger, swarms more often, more aggressive, has more hours of foraging in the day. So they're literally out competing the native Melipona bee. And that's one of the big reasons that the populations of these bees have plummeted. As is true of declining bee populations of all bees. There are many factors, pesticides and loss of forage. Dr. David Rubik estimated about 20 years ago that really the bee was critically endangered. Now, through projects like our own, the population is ticking up a little bit. The numbers are still frightening, but a little bit better than they were before.
So if people wanted to get involved with the bee sanctuary, how can they help?
We, of course, we always need funding. So a lot of the project is being supported by the sale of the honey on our website. Please go to mayanmeliponabee.org and you can order honey on our website. If people would like to step up larger, you could support a hive. Supporting a hive is $350. With some prior arrangements, it's possible that you could visit our bee sanctuary in Valladolid, Mexico. I'm down there myself 3 or 4 times a year. And quite often that's when people choose to visit because I can walk them through. Our local Rotary Club in Asheville last year gave us quite a nice grant that allowed us to build 3 more bee yards. A bee yard cost about $4,000 US to build. So it's also, this is one of the reasons why the bees are disappearing in Mayan villages. They're out of reach monetarily as well. To buy one hive costs $350 US. So, and the Maya people quite often don't have that kind of money. So yeah, we need financial support. One thing that I'm really, really proud about is that this past year, Pollinator Partnership, in conjunction with the Smithsonian, has awarded our project, the Mayan Melipona Bee Project, the Pollinator Advocate of the Year award for the country of Mexico. So we are getting recognized, I would say, on an international scale. And the attention that we're getting also will bring the knowledge out, the information out about the importance of this little tropical sacred Mayan bee and how important the bee is to the environment and to the Maya cultures.
Congratulations on that award. What an honor. And we will have all those links in the episode on our website.
Thank you.
So if you could encourage people to do just one thing to help support native bees, what would it be?
To support native bees, of course, planting native plants. There has been a co-evolution of bees and plants over 65 million years. So please plant natives. And there are lots of plant lists available to see which plants are native to your particular area.
Thank you, Rebecca, for your dedication to the Melipona bee and for sharing with us the important role they play in both the environment and the culture of their native place. Check out the website, the Bee's Knees website, to learn more about the Mayan Melipona Bee Sanctuary. And what's our actionable advice from Rebecca? Look for those native plants to feed your native bees. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, plant locally.